Hey everyone, we are so excited to be starting our new season of EdYouWell right at the same time that we are starting a new school year. The annual cycle of a teacher is about to begin again, and we are feeling that August anticipation.
Yes, we are. It's back again. And for any new listeners out there, I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Alex.
And we want to say a special thank you to everyone for being here with us. And if you are liking the EdYouWell podcast, we would really appreciate it if you gave us a review or shared the podcast with others so that we can continue connecting with our fellow colleagues near and far. You can also check out our Instagram page at EdYouWell_podcast. That's EdYouWell_podcast.
So today we are going to use a 3-2-1 method to kick off the season. We are going to discuss 3 important things to think about before going into the new school year, 2 goals that we have that are aligned with our personal and our professional lives. And then we will pose 1 question that reflects what the EdYouWell podcast is all about.
And of course, we got the 3-2-1 method from teaching. It's a method that we can use in our classrooms where students give 3 facts or ideas, 2 supporting details, and then 1 question they have about what you are teaching them.
I love wrapping a bow around these things. So let's dive into the well. Hi, welcome to the EdYouWell podcast, a show created for, by, and with teachers. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chelsea. With over 30 years of combined teaching experience, our goal is to share insights and connect with fellow educators on how to thrive both personally and professionally.
Join us as we dive deep into the well of information, filled with meaningful discussions, practical tips, and ideas that go way beyond the classroom walls. Let's be well
and do well together.
Let's start off the way we would at school by doing a quick review. Throughout the first season of the podcast, we often referred to the annual cycle of a teacher. This cycle includes 5 revolving stages. The stages of the cycle include anticipation, which is all those feelings and emotions and tasks that pop up when beginning a new school year, which leads into stage 2, which is survival, where you're keeping your head above water and when you're feeling like you're kind of drowning in all of the expectations and all the things going on. Then there's disillusionment, when you might feel discouraged or even defeated. Emotions that you can overcome in the next stage of the cycle, which are rejuvenation and reflection, my favorite cycles. Now, if you haven't listened to that first episode of EdYouWell entitled August Anxiety, we strongly suggest that you go back and check it out because in that episode, we offer 5 things to focus on when you are feeling that August anxiety. So if you missed that one, it's going to be linked in the show description and on our Instagram page for easy access. All right, so let's get started. We are going to start by talking about the 3 things to consider heading into the school year. So the first thing is to consider identifying those tough times throughout the year, both at work and at home, when you have found yourself in past years struggling or wishing for extra support. The second one is who will you be getting this support from this school year? And do you know who you can turn to when you need that little bit of extra help? And 3, what is not up for discussion for you personally and professionally? What are you trying to safeguard in your life? So those are 3 things that we are going to suggest one considers before heading into the school year. So let's just dive into this conversationally right now, Chelsea.
Okay, so when it comes to considering those tough times throughout the year, we know that that takes some reflection, right? So we've had some time to reflect. I know this is always the time of year for me where I get all of these ideas and I think about what happened last year and what I'm going to change. And sometimes I overdo it a little bit and I have to kind of hone in on one thing. But it's super important to just reflect on those specific periods or tasks even that may have been particularly challenging or stressful for you. There could have been moments when you felt overwhelmed by workload or deadlines or personal responsibilities, and I'll bet you that happened to all of us last year. And by recognizing these areas, it can help us to understand where these additional resources need to come in, where a better plan needs to come in, or even, of course, that scaling back, which we love so much because we always have so much going on. So by pinpointing these challenges, you can proactively seek solutions or support systems for the future, which is going to improve our well-being overall.
Exactly. And we are all about improving well being. And as you were talking, it struck me how we are at an advantage because we have years of experience. We are able to identify the patterns that have happened throughout the years. If you are new to this profession and you haven't already been through several school years, several cycles, you might be going through the year without the advantage of knowing what is coming next, without the advantage of knowing what has happened in the past, and without being able to buffer yourself from those moments. And so I'm grateful at this point in my career that I can kind of predict what's going to come up for me and how I can prevent it from becoming extra stressful. But I remember very clearly back to a time where I was just bulldozing through and I didn't have that advantage, which leads us to our next one, which is who are you seeking, reaching out, and asking for help from?
Absolutely. So, in our very first episode of EdYouWell, we talked about the importance of having a support network. And that can be also very difficult as a new teacher if you're going into a new school or a new space, or maybe you're even moving to a new area. Maybe you don't have that support system in place. And that's why we really encourage people to embrace the power of asking, which takes some courage. But if we do want to know, what can I expect from teaching this subject? What can I expect from teaching this grade? It is always okay to ask because that's an important part of starting to create that support network, figuring out who you can go to get support from.
Absolutely. And I can speak to this because I did not like to ask for help in the past. I always perceived that as me showing that I needed help. Maybe that's a horrible thing to say, but that is how I always felt. But in the last few years, I have really started to ask people for help, and help looks many different ways. And I am no longer worried about anyone's perception of me asking for help. I actually have respun it as it's a strength to ask for help. It's you knowing what your limitations are and knowing what areas you may not be a complete expert in and confidently asking for help. And so it's kind of revolutionized my career a little bit.
Yeah.
I've learned so much in asking other people for help. How do you feel about asking for help, Chelsea?
Well, I think the main thing for me with that is, yes, I was, leery to ask for help. I was like, oh, I can do this myself. I don't need help with this. I'll take care of it. But then once I figured out that it's so much better when you ask for help, I now do it more and more and more. But there's sort of that barrier that you have to get through or to get over that fear of asking for help. What really helped me with that was just to, again, think forward. Okay, well, what's going to happen if I ask this person for help? Well, this person's going to say, sure, I'm going to help you. Or this person's going to say, maybe no, I can't do it right now. I'm busy. Or maybe they will just say flat out no. Oh, well, then they say no. That's fine. Maybe I ask someone else for help. So that's really the worst that can happen. If you ask for help, you might not get it, but most of the time, and I especially find this with fellow teachers, they are always willing to share information to help because they know how it is, right? We're all in this together, so it's always a pleasant surprise for me. In fact, I'm
So
not even surprised anymore. I'm just like, yeah, people want to help. It's awesome.
well, what you just said reminded me of two things. One thing is I love helping. I love being a part of a
I
team
know you
or
do.
helping
Yeah.
someone. I do. And a colleague of ours who is now retired once said to me, Alex, you are taking away other people's ability to give back when you don't accept help. And I saw that she was kind of
That's good.
calling out, yeah, I wonder if you can guess who
That's
that
good.
was. It kind of called out my own selfishness in not allowing other people to be helpful in the ways that they want to be helpful and not providing other people the opportunity to step up too. And so that was the reframe that did it for me. That's the first thing. The second thing that I'm struck by is that when we ask for help, we're often asking for help within our own grouping of people who have similar, like, career, similar lived experiences. One thing that I have tried to do also over the past little while is to widen my net, because you might be very surprised what you will learn from people from different careers, different backgrounds, different age groups, not putting all your eggs in one basket. So you get different types of advice and support from different people. So I just think it's also really important to widen out what support looks like and who you're asking for, because you get to kind of try new things and be supported in different ways.
Yes. And so now you have all of these places to go for help, and that makes things much more comfortable.
Absolutely. You can't always be drawing from the same well. Oh, do you see how I just threw the well into that?
Well, sure. I mean, because that person's well might be empty at that point. Now you have to go to someone else as well.
Exactly. Well said.
So many wells. Okay. All right. So let's go into the third thing to consider. You didn't even notice that, eh? You're just so into the wells. All
I
right.
did not notice that.
Third thing to consider is, what do you plan on safeguarding for yourself personally and professionally? Where are those areas where you're not budging? I mean, for me, that's exercise. I'm going to get my movement in, okay? Nobody's going to tell me I'm not moving. I'm moving. So that's one for me. And I'm going to tell you, it's sleep too. I am really, really into sleep now and boundaries around sleep. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to my health. And, that's the both of those are going to benefit me personally and professionally. How about you, Alex?
Wow. Okay. You always do this to me, Chelsea. You ask me, and I should know the answer. I think mine is protecting a level of silence that I can access to reset me. So silence, big chunks of time where I am in charge of my time, and it is overall silence. And the other one is walking and having time to walk and just kind of enjoy, looking out at everything around me. So those are two areas that I'm not willing to let go of. And I'm willing to sacrifice other things to make that happen for myself. Those are things that I want to preserve that really fill my well. So those are two areas. But of course, I can think of a million areas that are
Yeah.
kind of connected to wellness that I'm not willing to give up on to achieve more at work, or to, they're just, I'm safeguarding them a lot. They're sacred to me. So
Exactly. When you recognize those areas that you really do need to protect, that's how you start to really thrive in and out of the classroom. So that's really important to think about. It also shows others, this is also really important. It shows others what you value so that you can maintain any boundaries that you've set, and so that, everybody can respect each other's space and values and just the things that they want to do.
right, we're all better for it. And let's not forget that we are also modeling always for, the other people in our lives. So, maybe someone is listening and they're like, who cares about my walk? Well, if you care about your walk, then you let people know that you value your walk, and it's something that you have to do, and people will work around you.
Yes. And when you talk about letting people know about what you value, that brings us into number 2 in our 3-2-1 method that we're following here, which would be goals. We're going to talk about 2 goals that we have. And when you're talking about things that you value, that would be your goal. So letting people know what your goals are so that they can support you with that. We've talked about the interchangeability between skills that we use at work and the skills that we use out of work. So, for instance, a goal for me that would be very beneficial and that I plan on focusing on this year would be to be more intentional with my time blocks. So that's the specific part of my goal, is to be more, you can say I'm going to be more intentional, but what are you going to be more intentional with? Mine are like specifically when I block off time to really focus on what I'm doing in that certain amount of time and how much time it is. And that just means dedicating more time to certain skills with my students and at home with myself or with my own kids, rather than giving into the pressure of switching to the next thing. I mean, we've talked about this distracted world we're living in, but, just to really focus on finishing something beginning, middle, end, or saying it's okay to take the time to do this. I don't have to move on to the next unit right away. I can extend this a little bit more. So that is one of my goals for this year.
Okay, so my turn. First off, we are at risk here sharing our goals out loud for everyone to hear because they
Mhm.
might call us out and be like, Chelsea, you're not being intentional at this moment with your, we're this is a vulnerability right here that we're exposing. But alas, I will do it for the listeners. No,
It's
I
going
will
to
do
help
it.
you meet your goal.
That's true. That is one thing about goal setting, if I may, that if you state it out loud over and over and really, own it, you're more inclined to follow through. And I've done that several times with things in my life that I value. And you kind of would be embarrassed if you didn't go for your goal full throttle, right? So one of my goals is taken from something that your husband said to you and that you shared with me. It's the slower you go, the faster you go. And that quote, I think I've mentioned a few times, has kind of changed the way that I'm thinking about how I walk through life at work, at home. And when I'm starting to rush, that quote has been coming to mind. And so I am trying to really slow down, focus on one thing, complete that one thing, give it my full focus, of course, and just to be okay with going at a slower pace. And if less gets done, then less gets done, but it gets done in a way that I can be proud of and that I, can confidently know that I've given it all and all of my focus. So slowing down. And I've talked a few times about the amount of mistakes in life that have been made in moments where I was rushing. And I'm talking everything from sprained ankles to, uh, miscommunication to something that has been lost that has cost me hours of looking and the
Yeah.
amount of stress that it's caused me. And the universe has been telling me for years to slow down. And I'm kind of taking that from Oprah. Like Oprah says that the universe is telling you what your lesson is over and over and over. And my family for many years has, said, just stop for a minute and think, or just stop. And so I really value that advice right now in my life. So that is an overarching goal that I have for me that I believe will help me at home, at school, and really just help me personally.
Okay. And if we're getting into our second goal, my second goal would be to focus on reframing stress, which is something that I learned from Dr. Kelly McGonigal in her TED Talk, where she talks about seeing those physical feelings, those mental feelings of stress as positives in certain situations, I will say. So I'm just talking about situations that, make me uncomfortable, but that I'm looking forward to like learning about or getting better at. I'm not talking about situations where I'm stressed out and it's like unwarranted. Like I'm being overloaded with a bunch of things that are unnecessary. I mean, that's not a situation where I'm going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited about this." It has to be reasonable.
I think reasonable is fair. And it really is about looking at the language that we use to describe the situations that we're in. And we
Mhm.
overuse, I think personally, I know I overuse words that are far more dramatic than the situation is really presenting itself.
Yeah.
So big picture for me, it's not using a word like stress to describe situations that really comparatively aren't truly stressful. Because there are real situations that happen in life that deserve the word stress.
I think it's just there are different types of stress. So being realistic about the situation. And of course, it all comes down to it depending on what that situation is. It's just like, okay, I feel a little bit of stress about going into the new year, but it's good stress. And I'm going to take those feelings and make them positive. They're going to be anticipatory. So that's what we're talking about here.
And oh, I love anticipation. You're just speaking my language right now. That's
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Okay. All right. And I guess I will share my second goal then at this point, which
Okay.
is okay. My second goal, it's kind of simplistic. It's essentially being grateful for the things that I already have for, and when I say things, I'm talking about actual physical things that I already have, but the life that I have, everything that surrounds me that I'm basically just lucky to have and to experience. And for that to be, I don't want to say good enough in a way that's like, good enough, but like it is the pinnacle. And instead of constantly striving to bring in more, to sit and appreciate what already is. And so that is a goal that I have. And I think that I'll be bringing less things into my life in kind of practicing that, and that I am talking things when I say that. So that's a goal that I have, and that was kind of inspired from that Waste Not, Want Not episode that we had a while back. Just kind of really being more mindful about what is versus, what more can I bring into my life?
Yeah, and you referred to that goal as more simplistic. And I think it's important to note that we have this one overarching goal, and that takes a lot of focus and a lot of check ins throughout the year. Whereas your goal of gratitude and my goal of reframing stress, it's almost easier to do, I would say, than those overarching goals. Because I think it's important to have that one goal that you really need to focus on. And then you're going to have all these other goals, but or you don't want your energy to be depreciated because you're trying to work on all of these huge goals. So it's good to have that one major focus, and then the other things that aren't really taking up so much capacity, I guess, so much brain power
Yeah,
and physical power.
we only have so much broadband to give. And I just, Chelsea, building on that, I want to drive home that when we're talking about goals, we are talking about goals for you, goals that matter to you, not another person's agenda for you. It's your agenda. And we are, talking about moving forward, not other people's goals, our own goals. And I have personally really enjoyed being a part of a team and, having goals be set for me. And sometimes I can get a little lost in that. And so I'm going to really work to make sure that my goal is where a lot of my focus is going. Because sometimes goals are competing with each other, and other people's goals can move you away from what you're wanting for yourself. So I'm just throwing that out there.
That's right. Main focus of the EdYouWell podcast is you first. You first. So that's how you can be your best self, by putting yourself first. And now, since we're following the 3-2-1 method, as we wrap up the episode, we want to leave listeners with one important question to ponder as we're all stepping into this new school year. The question is, what will you do this year to be well so that you can do well? Reflecting on this question means considering how you will prioritize yourself. Remember, taking care of yourself isn't just about pampering. It's about setting boundaries and finding the balance and getting that rest, which we talked about in our 3-part series last season, and creating those routines that really support your own well-being.
I'm personally quite excited that you and I just stated our goals out loud. It's an overarch that I'm pumped to kind of actualize now. And I think that we've had enough conversations about how to move things forward and how to put that oxygen mask onto ourselves that we can bring these to life. And I'm pumped about that. Are you pumped about it?
Yeah, I'm excited. We have so much to talk about over the next season. It's honestly hard for us to stay focused in our episodes. But hey, that's one of our goals, going to be present, going to be intentional about what we're saying. So we're going to keep everything on track. But yeah, we have a lot to say in the upcoming season. So I'm ready for it.
I am too, super pumped. And I would be remiss right now if I didn't mention two quotes that I thought about for this episode. And these quotes have been shared with me, and I hope that sharing them out gives listeners some pause. So the first one is, protect your mind, protect your time. The value is the peace in your life. And that's by BK Sweeting. And the other one, Chelsea, this is like written for our podcast, I feel like. Ready for it? Okay.
Yep.
Time is the coin of your life. It is the only coin that you have, and you can determine how it will be spent. Be careful lest you let other people spend it for you. By Carl Sandburg. I really like that quote. And I want to throw that coin into the wishing well of life and hope that you and I can actualize our goals by thinking about that quote as kind of a compass.
Ah, those are deep, just like the well. I love those quotes. So it's a nice way to wrap up the episode. All right, let's review our takeaways. Number 1, reflect on challenges. Identify challenging times in the past year at work and at home to plan for better support and strategies moving forward.
2, build a support network. Consider who you can rely on for help and make conscious efforts to ask for support when needed, both professionally and personally.
Number 3, safeguard what you value. Establish personal and professional boundaries that are crucial for maintaining balance and supporting your own well-being.
4, align goals. Set goals that benefit both your personal and professional life, ensuring they align with your values and priorities.
And 5, prioritize well-being, of course. Reflect on how you will take care of yourself this year to be well and do well.
Teachers, thank you again for listening today. We are so excited to join you as you begin your new school year. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram and be sure to tune in to the next episode of EdYouWell. Until then, be well
and do well.